In this quick video guide, I want to show you how you can create an unwrap mapping in Blender really easy without the seams or with the seams. So you can do something a little bit more complex or something faster, but I'm going to show you the easiest and fastest way. So first of all, I want to show you a couple of models here from Polyoven. This is Apple, and if we go here in Polyoven, we can search for models, and these are all unwrapped. So this is a concrete statue of a cat, so you can download it. And also I want to show you here another one because they have different structures. They both have the unwrap mapping, but they have similar, well, different structures. So this one here has triangle and irregular structure. The cat instead has a more regular structure. So before we get into action here, I want to show you these couple of files that we got from Polyoven. So this is the cat right here, and we can see that if you go into wireframe, it has a nice and regular polygonal structure with four-sided faces and so on. Now in this situation, it's better when you need to create seams, when you need to define where are the cuts, the seams in your model. So if we switch to the UV editing, this is where you usually set up your UVs and where you unwrap when you set up your mapping in order for the material to be displayed well. So you can see that if we zoom in, we can already see that there are some seams around. Now, seams are usually placed in hidden places or where there is like a change of texture. So they are like strategic points of your model. And so you can see again, when you have a regular structure, it's easier to select the edges to create the seam. So you can select it using the Shift key. You can also use the select circle here. So you can brush like this and then Control to take off the other seams that you don't need, the other edges. Now, to create a seam is right click and just mark as a seam. And you can see that there's this another seam that we created. Now, if we do select facing and select all, we can see all the different islands here. You can see it's a nice unwrapping right here. Now let's see the apple. So I'm gonna open the apple again from Polyoven, and let's go to texture paint. So you can see this is a more irregular unwrapping or mapping, and if we zoom in, so this is the model right here. Now we are in texture paint. Now we need the unwrap mapping. We need a mapping for a lot of reasons. We need a mapping to create textures, to create painting, and all sorts of reasons. So it's really important part of creating your 3D model. So this is why it's really important to know how to do it in the best way, in the fastest way, in the easiest way. Now let's go in the UV editing again. So you can see these are the islands, but they look more irregular than before. And if we take a look at the seams, you can see these are not placed so well. This is kind of a starting of a seam or something like that. So again, here I need to create more seams if I want to do something more regular. But it's quite difficult when you have an irregular structure. You need to find a path here. So, it's better to work with the more regular topology, but it's not always possible. So again, we mark a seam and we continue. Now let's create our own project. Let's start from the simple cube. And to do something really quick, I want to create a kind of a chair out of this cube. So what I'm going to do is convert this using the remesher. So I'm going to go to the sculpt mode. There you go. And I want to sculpt on this, but I don't have many polygons to work with. So I need the remesh. Now remesh will create an irregular structure, not so irregular, but quite irregular. So when you remesh, you can see now this is a regular structure because the object is quite regular. So let's first remesh a little bit more. Let's do 0.05. So we have something more complex to work with in sculpting. So you can see we have a lot of polygons here we can work with. And if I start to sculpt with different tools here, let's also activate the symmetry. And if you're interested, in, sorry, symmetry on the X or on the Y. If you're interested in sculpting, we have an entire video course. And also, if you find it difficult with these really easy steps, you can check the Blender video course in the channel. So what I'm going to do here is try to create a chair by using the grab tool at first. So I want to create, something really quick. So you can see I'm pushing here the various parts of the chair. And the more I push, the more I drag the polygons around, and the more they're gonna be distorted. You can see it up there, especially. Okay, so let's create something real quick. It's gonna be like an organic shape for a chair. Okay, and let's also smooth a little bit using the smooth tool, or holding the shift key. I'm gonna smooth. There you go. And I can also work a little bit with other brushes here. Let's use the draw, the standard brush here. I'm gonna push this down, holding control. There you go. Okay, well, fair enough. I don't need to spend too much time on this. It's just an example, but you can, spend a lot of time creating the perfect chair. Okay, so let's say that I want to create a texture for this, because perhaps I want to paint, or perhaps I want to apply then a texture onto this chair. Well, since I didn't do too much, it still preserved the regular structure. So you can see there is still quite regular. So in this case, it's really easy to create an unwrap. So let's go to UV editing. There you go. And well, first of all, actually, I want to apply a texture with the texture paint. So right now I cannot paint on this object, so I need to add a texture. So I'm gonna click on the plus icon and create a base color, and use here a generated type UV grid, so we can see a grid applied to the object. Let's switch here to viewport shading, so we can see the material, and we cannot actually see anything, probably because we don't have a mapping yet. So this is why having a mapping is really, really important. So let me just go back here to UV editing and select all, and we can see we don't have any mapping in here. So to create a quick mapping, we can right click and use the, sorry, we need to select the faces, right click, and we have the UV Unwrap faces. So this is what we're gonna use. Now, if we use Unwrap right now, it's not gonna do a great job. As you can see, we need some seams before we can do something better. But what we can try to do is right click again and use the Smart UV project. So let's use this. Okay, so you can see that this is already doing a good job, because it's quite intelligent, and also because it's a quite regular structure. So if we go back to the texture pane now, we can see the texture, and you can see the polygons are pretty well organized. Now, if I continue to sculpt on this, let's continue here, for example, to make this higher and higher. What is going to happen is that polygons will become more and more stretched. And also the texture will become more and more stretched. So you want to avoid that. You don't want that. So if we want to work on this now, we need to recreate the UV editing. So this is, again, really easy. We can go here and do Smart UV project. And again, it's going to change slightly, but it's going to be good. So if I go back to texture pane, you can see now there are no stretched faces in there. But what about the seams? Well, it's really easy to place seams right here and to guide the texture. So if we go back again to UV editing, to add a seam in this regular structure is really easy. You can select, for example, these and this one here. And let's select also this one here, and perhaps this one here. So you need to select which edges are more important. And then we go to select, yes, and select loop, edge loop. So you can see right away we can create kind of a, seam structure, seam division. Again, select, edge loops. Okay, and then right click and mark seam. So now we have some really basic and quick seam position. And what we can do now is, again, go to the faces, select all the faces, and we can also use the unwrap. So let me just show you again, unwrap, and now it works. So this is another way we can create a quick unwrapping. But you can see it's not working too good there because this is considering the polygons that right now are stretched. So let's go back, right click, and probably the smart UV project is the best, still the best. So you can see now it's doing a better job. Now where it doesn't find a seam, it's gonna do it itself. So it's gonna create the seam itself. But you can see these are the seams. So if you wanna manage the seam a little bit, you can do it like this. Now if we go back to sculpting and we wanna fix these stretch polygons, well, there are many ways, but a quick way is to remesh. So if I remesh again, you can see now this is a more irregular. And don't worry about the faces. If you want something more smooth, you right click in object mode and do shade smooth. So you have a nice and smooth geometry. And then we can also smooth with the smooth tool. Now you can see that everything looks nice and smoother than before, but it doesn't have a regular structure. So if I see this structure right here on the UV editing, you can see it's, well, it's probably we don't have loops anymore. So I cannot go like here, select this, and then select edge loop. You can see it's gonna stop there. So it's not good when you need to create seams. So now you need to go one by one and define a path for your seams, which is more, well, it's longer. So this is why you should always try to create a regular structure. If you cannot do that, you can also retopologize. That's another thing you can do, and you can do it with polybuild, but this is in another course and in another lesson, in our video. But we can still work easily with the smart UV project. So I'm gonna select all again, right click, and go to the Unwrap and smart UV project. And that's gonna work pretty fine as well. We didn't use seams, so when you want to be more precise, when you want to guide your unwrapping, it's better to use seams, but you can see it's still good. And there are some irregular seams right here. You can see it right there. So this will be all for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel to stay updated for other video guides and other topics. And if you want to thank us, if you want to support us, you can join the channel as a supporter. Check the other video courses dedicated to Blender and the other to other software. And that's it. See you in the next video.